Country Road.
All right. Welcome back again to the Environment and Transportation Committee. I'm the chairman, Kumar Varve. I'm joined by the vice chairman, Dana Stein, and the wonderful members of our committee. We have voting list number 6, and let us begin with House Bill 15. Who's got that one?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
House Bill 15 as amended requires the Maryland Department of Agriculture to classify as Tier 1 invasive plant or Tier 2 invasive plant species any plant identified in the plant invaders of Mid-Atlantic natural areas. That's a publication by the National Park Service and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Move the amendments, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
The amendments are technical and strip off the tax exempt provision, which was done by Ways and Means.
Okay.
Second.
And there's a second.
Okay.
Any discussion on the amendment before we vote? So it basically just takes off the Ways and Means tax provision, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. The bill is before us is amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the bill before we vote? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of House Bill 15 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the bill passes unanimously among those present, and that means everybody, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Some of you are frozen. Are you having trouble with internet connection also?
I think that might be on your end.
Really? Okay. All right. Well, let's go to House Bill 107.
Thank you,
Mark.
Mr. Chair. House Bill 107, as amended, this bill requires a study of reserves needed for future major repairs and replacement on common elements of a cooperative housing corporation or a condominium or common areas of homeowners associations. And there are amendments, Mr. Chair. Amendment number 1 corrects a drafting error. Amendment number 2 alters the groups of people who are able to perform reserve studies under the bill. Amendment number 3 authorizes the governing body of a common ownership community to fund reserves required by the initial reserve study over 3 immediate successive budget cycles following the fiscal year in which the initial reserve study is conducted. Amendment number 4 applies to the provisions of the bill with respect to condominiums to residential condominiums only. Move the amendments, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendments before we vote? All right, we'll vote on
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I have one quick question, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Delegate Holmes, you said that the funds would need to be in place 3 consecutive cycles after the reserve study was in place?
It's successive cycles. So they don't have the board of directors do not have to wait for 3 successive cycles. We're just trying to make a provision that they can get up to speed without having to have it all there all at one time. So the bill allows for 3 successive cycles to get up to speed. Yes, sir, that's correct.
So once over the next 3 years, they'll have to get up to the level that they need to be at according to your study.
That is correct.
What is there any kind of a thing in there that would allow them to be able, if they come across some major thing that they're going to have to do in 5 or 7 years, and it's extremely large amount of money, is there any way for them to be able to get some relief on that and take it out over 5 or 6 years as opposed to just 3?
No.
Yeah. Because that could be pretty burdensome to some, to some condo units and stuff like that.
I may also suggest to you the primary reason for the bill is more problematic to those that don't have reserve studies. And I'll give you a perfect example.
Mhm.
If, for example, the funds are not put there in an appropriate amount of time, then there will have to be special assessments made to the homeowners. and the unit owners. There will have to be special assessments. The whole focus of this bill is to circumvent the need for special assessments. That's the whole purpose of the bill.
Mhm.
So if you don't put the money in there based upon the reserves, you will be hit with special assessment. And the timeframes that I'm hearing, that I've seen personally, for special assessments to be paid are in the months, plural months, not years. As an
Yeah.
example, there are a couple of associations in Prince George's County where they were hit with special assessments of $6,000. One was with $10,000, and they had months to pay that. As opposed to under the legislation, they have 3 successive years to get into the reserve study funding. So to answer your question, does that hope it answers your question?
Yeah, it does. It explains it to me. You got to get the money in there one way or the other. So yeah, I understand it. I'm just trying to think of how it can be spread out longer for the tenants so they don't get hit hard with special assessments.
And if
But I wasn't thinking monthly. I was thinking yearly.
if I may add, the people in the Florida condominium, they were thinking how to expand it out in terms of years also. And you see
Yeah.
what happened to them.
It worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Before I recognize Delegate Terraza, I have to ask this question. 3 successive years. I've never heard that terminology. Does that just mean 3 years in a row?
That's what I meant. Yes, sir.
Okay. For some reason, I've never heard that terminology before. Okay. Delegate Terraza.
Yeah, just really quickly, I wanted to add on to what Delegate Holmes was saying. We've had the same issue in Howard County, and we've heard numbers even higher in special assessments, like $40,000, and that having to be paid in 6 months. So I am supporting this bill, and I think it makes a lot of sense to try to avoid the types of things that happen when you have to specially assess your residents. And so I thank you for this bill.
And I may also add, Mr. Chair, this bill passed the House last year.
Yep. Okay,
Okay.
let's vote on the amendments, and then we can see if there's any debate on the bill as amended. All those in favor, first of all, I think there was a second. So
Second.
all those in favor of the amendments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the amendments? Okay, the amendments pass. The bill's before us is amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any debate on the bill? Okay, let's do a roll call.
All right. Stein,
Yes.
Holmes,
Aye.
Learman,
Yes.
Fraser Hidalgo,
Yes.
Otto,
No.
Jacobs,
No.
Wyville,
No.
Ampery,
Yes.
Siliberti,
No.
Wells,
Yes.
Love,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
Prettyman,
Yes.
Foley,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Terrassa,
Yes.
Parrott. Parrott,
You're muted.
he's working on it.
Thank you. I'm no on this one.
Okay. Boyce,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Jalisi,
Yes.
Anderton,
Yes.
Gilchrist,
Yes.
Healy,
Aye.
Chairman.
Chairman votes yes.
That is 20-5.
Okay. 20 to
Mr.
5.
Chairman? Mr. Chairman, can we pile on to this one?
Sure. If you want to pile on, just raise your hand in Zoom. So the first one is going to be Jen Terraza, Ann Healy, Linda Foley, Mary Lehman. I think that's it. If you could read that back to us.
I have delegates Terrassa, Healy, Foley, and Lehman.
Got it. Okay, that's good. Let's go to House Bill 254. Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 254 was voted favorably out of subcommittee with 3 amendments. Amendment number 1 strikes the illustrative correction action and countermeasures. Amendment number 2 alters the certain requirement of SHA in conducting an infrastructure review. And amendment number 3 alters the timeline for completion of the review. Move the amendments.
Second.
Okay, so these amendments, well, Delegate Weigel has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So amendment number 2, does that kind of take care of the fiscal note?
Yeah, because they already do it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thanks.
Good question. Good question.
Okay, let's vote on the amendments. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The amendment carries. The bill is before us as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the bill? All right, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Neil is opposed. Anybody else? Dr. No is opposed. Okay. Okay, the bill carries. Would give us the margin there, Trish or Ben?
24-1.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I did want to add for the committee members that I have been doing my best roads impression on the amendments for some time now, including on the House floor. And there's only one member of this committee that has congratulated me. Thank you, Delegate Love, for understanding and seeing my humor. The rest of you are just, oh my God.
You can't see my laugh through Delegate Holmes' face here.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can you pile on that one?
Yeah, a pylon amendment. I think I want to, I'm not sure if I'm on it or not, but I'm going to put my hand up also. So pylon amendment. Okay. Kumar Barve wants to be on it. Jen Terraza, Brooke Learman, Vaughn Stewart, Marvin Holmes, Regina Boyce, DFH, Sarah Love, Mary Lehman, Linda Foley, Ann Healy, Sheila Ruth, Vice Chairman Dana Stein, Jay Jalisi, Marlon Ampry. I'm hearing somebody in the background there. Sounds like Tony Bridges' voice. Oh, and Delegate Roxanne Prettyman. Did I get Jay Jalisi? His hand is up also. Okay. Read that back when you have a chance.
Excuse me. Okay, I have Barve, Terraza, Learman, Stewart, Holmes, Boyce, Fraser Hidalgo, Love, Lehman, Foley, Healy, Ruth, Stein, Julie, Bray, and Prettyman.
Okay. Yep. All right. All righty then. House Bill 254 passes. House Bill 331.
That's a local government bill, regulation of amateur radio station antenna structures. This is a favorable, straight favorable, no amendments. It's identical to what we passed in 2021. So
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. We'll vote on, I don't think there's any debate on this bill. All those in favor of House Bill 331 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The bill carries unanimously. House Bill 535.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 535 was voted favorable out of subcommittee with one amendment. Amendment number 1 adds members appointed by the Prince George's County Executive. Move the amendment.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? There don't appear to be. So we'll vote on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. Sarah Love is clapping for some reason. I'm not really sure why.
Come on.
Okay. All those, the bills before us is amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? Delegate Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question as to, I guess, a couple of facts about the bill first. So one person, if they're appointed by the council and county executive, could serve more than 2 terms. But each time they get to be reappointed, do they have to get a new letter from the county executive and county council? Or is it, since they've already been appointed once, they just keep on going as long as they want to serve?
I don't know, Patrick, unless.
They're terms, they're 4-year terms.
So they'd have to get reappointed. So they probably would be required to have a letter. Is that correct, Patrick?
Well, just as it is now, yeah.
Yeah.
They're terms now and they will be terms after this.
Right. So at the end of their term, they're basically reappointed by the county executive and council.
They
They
can
have to
be.
be, yes.
They can be.
And all the amendment does is extend that to Prince George's County as well. It makes it just not just a local MoCo bill. It makes it a MoCo Prince George's bill.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, on the bill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? The bill carries unanimously. House Bill 590, and so it passes. House Bill 592.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 592 authorizes DNR to allow in all counties a person hunting deer under a deer management permit on state land leased by a permittee for the cultivation of crops. The permit will allow to use a shotgun or breech-loading center-fired rifle approved by DNR to hunt deer throughout the year. Mr. Chairman, what happened here was that about 8 or 9 years ago, the legislature passed a bill altering this section of code, and it allowed certain 5 or 6 counties to do something different under this permit. And then years after that, the Attorney General's office noticed it and said, oh, the problem is now is that you need to authorize it for all the counties when you authorize, just a certain portion of it for 5 or 6. So this continues a practice that has been in long standing, but because of the Attorney General's letter of advice just in 2020, this bill puts us back to where we were for all those years. So first of all, in the amendments clarify that DNR has the authority to allow hunting. So move the amendments, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the amendments? Jen, I assume you want to talk about the bill after it's amended? Okay. All right, we'll vote on the amendments. All those in favor of the amendments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. The bill is before us as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Delegate Terraza has her hand up on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you're saying the Attorney General is saying, they're not saying that we have to allow this in every county. They're just saying we need to be consistent across the county. So we could ban it in every county. Is that right?
Well, that's
Yes.
right. We are the state legislature, and if we wanted to ban it, we could. And,
Well,
I heard Patrick was just saying something too, so that's important, whatever he wanted to say.
I was just saying yes. You did.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, we're not doing, the Attorney General is not telling us we have to allow this in every county. They're just saying we have to be consistent.
They're saying because of the bill passed 6 or 7 years ago, and what I'm looking at now is the Farm Bureau. It was 9 years ago, and 9 years ago there were changes made for certain counties, and then in 2020 the Attorney General saw that and said through a letter of advice, and it was probably an assistant attorney general in the department, said you need to, this program that's been in existence for a long time, you need to reauthorize it through the bill. So that was the effect of the Attorney General's letter of advice.
Okay, now I'm confused. So we don't have to do it in every county. We can just leave the 8 or 9 that are allowed to do it. Like, I'm trying to figure out why we're expanding it to all the counties.
Well, and you'll notice that on the committee, there was one unfavorable, but mostly this was all favorable support on this bill at the hearing. This is a program that's been operating for a long time. And so it's not new in that sense. It's only new because the Attorney General found this discrepancy. And so we're putting the program back to where it's been.
I'm sorry to have so many questions. So this program, it does exist in every county. It's just inconsistent with the law.
I believe it's been suspended until we fix it. Patrick, is that right?
The program was in place for, I believe, about 28 years statewide. The Attorney General's letter of advice, or whatever it was, caused them to have to suspend it in all but 5 counties. And this bill returns it to statewide.
Like, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I'll oppose it, but I guess I'm just really confused as to what decision was made by the legislature 8 or 9 years ago and why it's changed now.
Patrick, can you address that?
Well, the bill 8 or 9 years ago, the Attorney General found 2 years ago that it limited the program on state leased farmland to just 5 counties. The General Assembly did not think they were changing it from statewide. So this bill is correcting it to go back to statewide.
I'm reading from testimonies submitted at the hearing. The previous bill's intention, this is the one nine years ago, is to allow the use of a rifle for deer management permit holders in those 5 counties.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think everybody knows my general opposition to many of the hunting bills, but I'm supporting this bill. It's not really about hunting. It's about deer management, and it's really just solidifying something that's already in practice. So it's about deer management on farmland, and particularly on land leased, state land that's leased. And so I just wanted to express why I'm supporting this. It's not really making a major change. It's not really making a change. My understanding is it's just restoring what was already in place.
Any further discussion before we proceed to a vote? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Who's opposed? Delegate Terraza is opposed. Delegate Lehman is opposed. Anyone else opposed? Okay, before I go on to the next bill, I suppose this is as good a time as any where Delegate Gilchrist has defended a bill by Delegate Jacobs to once again congratulate our 2 prize winners yesterday who were honored by the House of Delegates with, was it the speakers? Which award was it, guys?
It's the
Mathias.
Mathias Award.
Okay, the Mathias Award, and it's particularly appropriate now because both of them were complimented for their ability to work across the aisles in cooperation between the 2 political parties. And so, again, you have the admiration and love and support of the entire committee for your great accomplishment here. So, again, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and that was appropriate timing for that.
Yes, it was. Okay, House Bill 632.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 632 was voted favorably out of subcommittee, and with one amendment that clarifies the federal funds contingency. Move the amendment.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. The bill is before us as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Delegate Weigel has his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question. So I do apologize because I missed this bill hearing. I think I was presenting another bill. So it still has the funding requirement in there, the $5 million a year for 3 years?
It does.
Okay, and this is to do a study for the red line and the MARC rail?
Yeah, so just so you know, Delegate, because there was some conversation about this, the studies that had been done previously before the last time the project was up and the project was killed, those those studies really are no longer relevant. They're just outdated. So the idea is to do a new study to get, to get a better idea of how we would move forward on a project like this.
And this is money that would come out of the Transportation Trust Fund and not federal funding?
That's correct.
I think there's a federal contingency for some funds.
That's the amendment.
Actually, it was a bill for this one, but.
So it's all federal money?
It's contingent on federal money.
Okay.
The study being, the study itself is contingent on the receipt of federal money.
I'll let Patrick explain. He's do a better job than me.
Well, Delegate Wyville just said it exactly.
Right.
So if the federal money doesn't come in, the study doesn't get done.
Correct.
Yeah, you can see the committee amendment that I mentioned. That committee amendment clarifies federal funds contingency.
Okay.
That's what that amendment does. So it basically says there has to be federal dollars.
And for the record, this is, you probably missed it, Delegate Wyville, because this is, we're secondary on, appropriations is the lead.
Okay.
These are their amendments.
All right. And so what's the likelihood that either one of these projects would take place? I mean, are we just wasting more money on a study that you said the other ones were outdated?
Well, those studies are from like 10, 12 years ago, so they're not really applicable now. So much has changed. So they're not applicable. And I don't have a glass ball. I don't know what federal funds are going to come and exactly where they're going to go, and if we're going to be able to get funding. My hope is at some point in the future, and I'm sure there are plenty of Baltimore City delegates that are here today that would talk about the importance of getting that red line up and running. So it prepares us for that day when hopefully that day will come soon.
And Delegate, this is when you had to go to your committee. If I'm okay to speak, Mr. Chair, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was the question that I had asked about whether or not any of the past studies, because I'm sure there's some relevance in some of it, even though it is outdated, whether any of that would be considered in any new studies if, again, we get federal funding to do so. And I believe Patrick said, or I think it's MTA were there, it would be considered, but the issue again is that that information is now, I guess, ancient because of the time that has lapsed and the change in the landscape, change in laws from that time to now.
Yeah,
So
the term they used,
information-
Delegate Wyville, the term that MTA used yesterday, as I recall, was that the previous studies would be built upon where they can. I think built upon was the term used.
So they're not totally lost.
Not all of the data is totally lost, but outdated. A good portion of it is outdated.
And that's what we pushed to Delegate Wyville.
All right, thank you.
Delegate Ampry has his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to just restate in regards to how this impacts Baltimore City, but just understanding that the red line, I just want to make it clear for the record, the red line goes beyond Baltimore City. It's important for the entire region. And I think it's become a Baltimore City thing, and it's not properly stated as a greater Baltimore region.
I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah. So that's all I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
And it hooks up to Hopkins, which I think is extraordinarily important. But
Delegate Ruth has her hand up.
Thank you. And I also just wanted to reiterate what Delegate Ampry said, that this is important beyond Baltimore City and into the region, and the red line would come into my district as well. Thank you.
Okay. I'm having a little bit of problems, but apparently nobody else is on the Zoom. So let's proceed to a vote. Unless anybody else wants to say anything, which I don't think they do. Okay, all those in favor of House Bill 632 signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
I'll vote no.
Wyville is a no. Anybody else?
Hear it.
So I'm ready.
So do you think we ought to do a roll call here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do a roll call.
Alrighty. Stein.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Bierman.
Yes.
Fraser Hidalgo.
yes,
Otto. Delegate Otto.
He said yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Wyville.
Charles, did you say yes? I
Yes.
didn't- Okay.
So Wyville.
No.
Ampry.
Yes.
Siliberti.
No.
Wells,
Yes.
Love,
She said yes.
yes. Did she? Ruth,
Enthusiastically, yes.
Prettyman,
Yes.
Foley,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Tarasa,
Yes.
Parrot,
No.
Boyce,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Jalisi,
Yes.
Anderton,
Yes.
Gilchrist,
Yes.
Healy,
Aye.
Chairman. Chairman votes yes. That puts us at 22-3. Okay, House Bill 632 passes. House Bill 644.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 644 for Cecil County establishes that provisions that give a riparian property owner or occupant first choice to set or position a net or haul seine to catch fish do not apply in Cecil County. The bill modifies a prohibition against setting a pound net or stake net in the waters of the Susquehanna in Cecil County. Move the amendments, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. The bill's before us is amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the bill? We'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The bill carries unanimously among those present. House Bill 644 passes. House Bill 682.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 682 is a Baltimore County bill, repeals the requirement that a person obtaining a hunting license before hunting or attempting to hunt non-game birds and mammals in Baltimore County. Move the, no amendments, move the bill.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the bill? Delegate Jalisi has his hand up.
I just wanted a clarification on this. Is it saying that they can now get a license to kill non-game birds, or is it saying that they were being killed before, but not, I mean, is it creating a restriction or a limitation on killing non-game birds, or is it now making it permissible?
Well, Baltimore County has a law that you must obtain a license before hunting or attempting to hunt just non-game birds and mammals in Baltimore County. And my understanding is no other county has this. And the Baltimore County delegation, we have a letter, has voted to take that requirement out. So it makes it somewhat less restrictive, I would say.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Delegate Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking at the statute, and Baltimore County is singled out, but as I read the paragraph above it, it seems to me that everybody is required to get a resident or non-resident license for this type of hunting. So it seemed like that second paragraph was duplicative. Do I understand correctly that they still need to get a license, or can they hunt without a license and everybody else needs a license? Could someone clarify that for me, please?
That's for game birds and mammals. This is for game birds and mammals.
Mr. Chair, could I clarify that?
Do you think you can add something, Delegate Ruth?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. So anyone needs a license in Baltimore County or anywhere else to hunt game birds and mammals. This was something special that was put in for Baltimore County. I don't remember why, but it said that to hunt non-game birds and mammals, you needed a license. Only in Baltimore County did you need that license, and nowhere else for non-game birds and mammals. And so the reason that we're taking this out is basically so that farmers can manage groundhogs. And like I was concerned about songbirds, which are considered non-game birds, but apparently those are already protected under federal law. So really, this is just about farmers being able to manage groundhogs and nutria, I guess. whatever those are.
Thank you.
Delegate Jalisi, does that answer your question?
No, Mr. Chair, actually it creates more confusion because the bill does not specify only groundhogs. And I shared a document that was prepared by the Department of Interior, which has a list of probably 100 different birds that are considered non-game birds, which are not covered by the protection that is provided by the MBTA, which is a federal law which does not allow shooting or killing of certain birds. But it's not just the groundhogs that would be covered. I think that's the confusion that was created for me when I was listening to the testimony yesterday. I mean, it includes like black-necked swan, flamingo, Chilean flamingo. Basically, there's a whole range of birds. And I'm not saying how people would vote one way or the other, but just saying that it is for shooting or killing of groundhogs for farmers is not putting it the way it is going to be implemented for most people in Baltimore County.
Okay. Delegate Jacobs is next.
Chairman,
Yep, go ahead.
how much wood can a woodchuck chuck?
The woodchuck could chuck wood. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what this bill is. It's a woodchuck bill.
Okay.
Is there, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Is there a way for us to just limit the bill, put in an amendment at this point to limit it to groundhog and not other non-game birds? Or is it too far?
I think, honestly, I think we should just, reach out to somebody in the Senate and see if they'll make that change over there and we'll conform to them. I personally don't want to slow this bill down. It's very local in nature.
Okay.
Okay. Delegate Lehman. Mary?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was unmuting myself. We did have a discussion about this in the subcommittee that I thought was somewhat helpful, but I will agree with Delegate Jalisi that I think it's not so helpful to, and I have great respect for our staff and maybe the many, many years they worked on these hunting bills, but I don't think it's at all clear to talk about small game or small mammals or whatever, and everyone to say to each other, oh, by the way, that means groundhogs. Because guess what? It doesn't say that. I mean, that is concerning. And then the question came up about what is a non-game bird? And we talked about all these federal protections for migrating birds and songbirds. I just am not comfortable with how loosey-goosey we are, frankly, around hunting in this state. So it's concerning.
Let me say this. I mean, this provision only applies in Baltimore County currently, and my impression, and since songbirds are protected by federal law, I mean, I think it's meant to deal with critters who are a problem for farmers. I mean, and it may be groundhogs or it could be some other small animal. So, well, that's just my 2 cents.
Mr. Chair, songbirds are not protected. And I've shared this list that was put out by Department of Interior, and I know my subcommittee chair has it. So you're welcome to look at it, but no, I mean, however way you want to move the bill, that's fine. But songbirds are not a protected bird. They would be covered under this bill because they're considered non-game birds. This is basically the protected birds are birds that are basically from the United States. Any birds that travel to the US or have been introduced into this country, but they're brought from outside the country, they are not protected by federal law, which includes songbirds and several types of pelicans and other stuff. It's not just groundhog.
All right, but let me just ask this question, Patrick. Maybe you can answer this. I mean, right now, currently in Montgomery County or Howard County, you can hunt these non-game birds without a license. Is that correct?
If there are any game birds in Maryland that you can hunt.
No non-game birds.
Yeah, if there are any non-game birds in Maryland that are not protected. Yes. I don't know if there are any.
So, okay, so I think we should move the bill because this is really all about hunting licenses for non-game animals. And I think that and since that's the case in 23 jurisdictions, but not Baltimore County, I personally think it's a perfectly fine thing to do for Baltimore County. That's just all, that's my opinion. So let's proceed to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
And
Okay.
No.
Lehman, Jalisi, and Terraza. And I have to tell you, it is, so the bill passes. It is hyper confusing to see Vaughn Stewart with a picture of cornbread behind him and cornbread with a picture of Vaughn Stewart behind him.
Partisanship, baby. This isn't Vaughn. This is a little cornbread. Hold on, he got something on his lips here. Let me get him right there. Blow his nose right quick.
We're going for the award next year.
This is teamwork. This is teamwork right here.
Yeah, it sure is. Okay, so what's the margin on that bill?
It's 22-3.
Okay. The bill passes. House Bill 884, Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
House Bill 884, as amended, requires DNR to manage old growth forests on state conservation land in a manner that prohibits logging. What the subcommittee amendments did was we took out all the easement land, we took out program open space land, and we just included state parks, state wildlife management areas. Move the amendments, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second on the amendments?
Second.
Nobody wants to debate the amendments. We'll proceed to a vote. All those in
I actually have a
signify-
question about the amendment.
do you want to speak on the amendments?
I do. I want to ask
Okay.
the chairman about the amendment, about why program open space money easements were not included. Why did you exclude them in the amendment?
When we got the bill draft, I went to the advocates, and the advocates looked at the bill, and it includes experts on old growth forests. And she said, in particular, she said, "Oh no, we don't mean to include easements. We don't mean to include land that had been bought by program open space." She was looking in particular at land on state parks and wildlife management areas, and that's what the advocates wanted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. On the amendment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. The bill's before us is amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Delegate Wyville has his hand up.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. So was old growth forest defined? Because that was an issue raised at the hearing.
Yes, that is the definition in the bill was unchanged by the subcommittee. It's a definition that was used by DNR when they surveyed land some time ago, and it only applies to these areas.
So because the Maryland Forest Association said it wasn't, but you're saying it is defined.
Sorry, what?
Maryland Forest Association testified that old growth timber was not defined, but you're saying it is.
It's defined for the purposes of this bill.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the bill? We'll proceed to a vote. Yeah, we're on with the amendments carried, right? Yeah. Okay. All those in favor of House Bill 884 signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Okay. Will Wyville is opposed. Neil Parrott is opposed. Who else is opposed? Anybody? Okay, Wyville and Parrott are opposed, and everyone else is in favor. So that should be 23-2, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can we pile on this one, please?
Oh, sure. If you want to pile on, raise your hand in the Zoom chat. Okay. Regina Boyce, Sheila Ruth, Sarah Love, DFH, the Vice Chairman, Ann Healy, Vaughn Stewart, who has a bread icon next to his name, Mary Lehman, Marvin Holmes, Jay Jalisi, Marlon Ampray, and put me on it too.
You ready?
Yes.
Me,
Boyce?
I have myself. Delegate
Oh,
Wells,
and-
sorry.
And Delegate
Wells.
Wells wants on also.
Okay. From the beginning, Boyce, Ruth, Love, Fraser Doggo, Stein, Healy, Stewart, Lehman, Holmes, Jalisi, Ampray, Harvey, Wells.
That sounds like it. Okay. Yay, Jim. 8:35.
I think that might be a withdrawal bill.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. 8:35 and 4:15 have both been withdrawn by the sponsors. So the motion is unfavorable, withdrawn by sponsors. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the unfavorable motion withdrawn by sponsors signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? The unfavorable motion carries unanimously. Okay, announcements.
Mr. Chair,
Dave.
Motor Vehicle Subcommittee, if it's all right with Delegate Holmes, and I guess Patrick and everybody else will meet at 3:30,
Okay, how long do you need?
probably an hour, maybe a little
Okay.
less.
Okay, Marvin?
Housing and Real Property will meet at 4:35.
4:35.
1 hour
Okay.
and 34 minutes. Thank you, Marvin.
And
Okay,
1 hour, 4 minutes.
Vice Chairman.
Environment Subcommittee will meet at 3:30 unless the chair of the Natural Resources would prefer that time slot, in which case we could go at 4:30.
This is your regular day. You have priority.
All right,
Mr.
then.
Vice Chair, I think do we have conflict with motor vehicle?
We do.
Housing and
We
real
do.
property can meet at the same time as environment. So maybe
Okay,
4:30 for us, but
so 4:30 then for environment.
Okay. And Jim?
I'm estimating natural resources and agriculture at 5:30.
Ooh, okay. So let's review. Dave is going when?
3:30.
And Marvin's going at 4:35?
Yes.
And Enviro is going at 4:35?
Yes.
And Jim, you're going at 5:30?
Yes.
How much time do you need?
Because there's yet another meeting after me, isn't there?
Leadership is
Can
going
you
to be
do,
after
can
all
you
this
do
stuff.
3:30? Can you go at the same time as Enviro or no? Or as MVT or no? No.
No. I think we can finish our work in 40 minutes. If you'd like us to do it in 30, tell us, and we will do it in 30.
I don't want to, I don't want to squish you. If you want to, so I mean, when were you, so you wanted to do your meeting, what time, 5:30?
5:30.
Well, let's see if you can do it. Let's see if you can do half an hour, and then I will have the leadership meeting at 6 o'clock with my leaders. Okay. All right.
So just so folks know, land use, we're going to meet tomorrow right after session.
Okay, and tomorrow is going to be the first day where we have two
Double.
floor
Yep.
sessions. So just be aware of that. Okay, so any other announcements for the good of the order before?
Well, local
Yes,
government,
Ann?
yeah, local government will meet tomorrow also, but probably between the two sessions.
Okay. Any other announcements for the good of the order?
Quick question. Is our session on Friday going to be 10 a.m. right now, 11, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's going to be 10. It's 10 to 1, and then What else? 10 to 1, and does anybody, I forget, and I think 3 to 5, something like that, I think. Yeah, okay.
What
All
about
right.
that? Are we in Saturday?
Yes,
Yes.
we're in Saturday. We're in at 10 o'clock. She's gonna feed us lunch, and we're gonna work until whenever the work's all done. And then, of course, we'll have to be back in Monday, I assume sooner than usual, because that's crossover.
Right.
Right. Okay, unless there's any other announcements, see you whenever. See you tomorrow. Take care.
You said Saturday at 10 a.m., right?
I believe so, yes.